It's not looking good for gaming stores and physical copies.
We are seeing reports, seeing pictures of retailers literally throwing away physical games because the sales are so bad. Yeah, the digital future is here. Digital is how people...
It's understandable. And by the way, it's not strange that they throw away these things because they probably get their losses covered to a certain degree. But obviously, losses getting covered to a certain degree does not exceed actually selling and making a profit. So, it is what it is.
People want to own their games in so many cases, but the last few weeks have really reminded everyone of the downsides. I mean, in the worst case, some Xbox fans have actually been scared that they could somehow lose their console library in a generation's time. I mean, at the very least, if...
Makes sense with everything that Xbox is doing. Makes absolutely perfect sense.
Disk drives are disappearing and a bunch of your game library is on disks and you kind of thought backwards compatibility was going to help you. Well, yeah, I hope you held on to your Xbox.
Dude, I don't understand how could anyone be so stupid to actually think that backwards compatibility is gonna exist for, more than the first year that people wanted it. There is absolutely no way Microsoft, Sony, or anyone, honestly, is gonna waste time with backwards compatibility. That is just keep dreaming.
Xbox One or your 360. Over in the land of Sony, they have literally deleted users' purchases with a combination of Crunchyroll and Funimation, and
we watched this. Pretty funny. I think if you're watching anime anywhere else but pirating, you are kind of, deserving of that outcome. Not gonna lie, it is what it is.
Then we have cultural landmarks like Spec Ops: The Line being delisted from sale on all platforms, meaning, well, yeah, that game's just kind of dead and inaccessible to people unless they go to other places in the internet or somehow...
Which is always the best solution for bad games. Hey, if you ever wonder how bad Skull and Bones is, find a way to pirate it. If you think maybe Starfield is better than people say, pirate it. It is what it is.
Now find a physical disc from the past. The digital-only future is really the present now. We're seeing major new games only being digital, and that raises many questions as we go into the future. At the very least, things are changing. If physical media is a massive thing for you, then honestly, in some ways, it may be too late. But do you know what is not too late? Today's sponsor, which is right now. There ain't a sponsor, but you can
Bam.
you won't have access to them. They won't be in your... And just rip you, because you don't anymore. They are not going to be supported, and that means that you won't have access to them. They won't be in your library.
You will own nothing and be happy. I don't want that because I have money, and everyone who has money should not want that future, obviously, because it's kind of bad for you. But for gaming, it's kind of different. I accepted this a long time ago. All of your games on Steam can be taken away at literally any point in life. The reality is most people are kind of fine with this version of gaming that we are already doing, that you don't actually own the hard copies of. Most people are completely fine with it. There are people who want the actual hard copy of the game, as a collection piece, as a whatever. But you need to understand, you are the absolute omega minority, okay? I assume that less than 1% of all players in the world actually care about owning a physical copy of something. Now that still means there's a lot of you who do, but most people literally just couldn't care less. Everyone has already accepted the Steam life, and honestly, if my Steam gets banned, I don't really care about almost any of the game purchases there. I bought them, I played them, I don't care at this point, okay? That is how I'm doing things, and I think that's reasonable. And also for the people who are saying, oh, that you're gonna lose your games, but I bought a physical copy and I will never lose my game. Well, if I lose my games and I don't want to pay for them, I'll just fucking pirate them. It's pretty simple, honestly. It's not a complicated thing. There's plenty of sites, there's plenty of options. It's completely optionable. But for all of those people who have physical copies and they're saying, oh, they can't take it away from me, yes, they can. Most games now are always online, which means that your physical copy has some kind of code in it or whatever it's called. I don't really understand fully how this works. And they can just block your access no matter what. Yeah, you can own the game, you can probably install it, but guess what? If they want to ban you, they probably still can without any problems because that game connects to the internet.
Which, yeah, no doubt has made many people feel fantastic about the purchases that they've made that have just disappeared, even though it's all just digital, which feels very strange. Then, of course, we've got the extrapolation of all of the Xbox console fears, and I think just with all these stories, we're seeing a anxiety in the air. Okay, but how have we actually got here? And that's where I want to go to.
Well, obviously, people are finally figuring out the simplest of truths, and that is the fact that, hey, if Xbox shuts down and there are no more Xboxes and there are no more servers, you can't play anything online. Yeah, your games are not forever on the cloud. People had this strange notion that they're gonna kind of be forever, but, you know, that's really not smart.
Some new games. So, Hellblade 2. Very anticipated game, looks terrific, and you're not going to own it physically because it's not going to be released physically. The same also happened for Alan Wake 2. Now, in these two examples, something rather surprising has happened. They both have just cost, here in the UK anyway, £50, I believe $50 as well, rather than the full 70. So, for once, it actually seems that, wow, the saving actually got passed on. To be honest, I don't really expect that to be the norm. That being said, I do have to wonder, is there an argument, right, for having a higher margin business by going digital only, and then passing on at least some of that to your consumers in such a way that you have more day one sales because you have a more accessible price point, which would maybe mean you wouldn't have to rely on as deep discounts into the future? I don't know, that's just a thought. But the point is, these games are not going to be coming out.
The editor actually completely perfectly encompassed what I'm thinking. Past savings on Lamau. Yeah, exactly. I kind of vaguely understand what he's hinting at here, but it's Nick, absolutely not.
Just a thought. But the point is, these games are not going to be coming out physically. Very, very clearly, both of the...
And if you don't understand what he's even hinting at, don't worry, it's garbage dribble. You're probably better off not understanding what he's trying to hint at.
Companies involved have ran the numbers. They've looked at doing these physically, and it's just not made any sense to do it that way.
Obviously.
So, just go all digital, which for many of us is great. We'll just hit the download button at home, have our game, and that's all good. But what happens in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years?
Nothing. Probably another platform has taken over and you don't care because the reality of life is very simple. Most people don't play games from 10 or 15 years ago. Yeah, there are some who play, it's true, but the majority of people don't care, okay? The last game I played from 10, 15, 20 years ago was, I think, Diablo 2. And after that, I don't think I have played anything that old. Simple.
It as an example, Spec Ops: The Line. In the best case, our digital libraries will exist forever. I mean, I don't think any of us predict Steam disappearing anytime soon, but I think there still is a fundamental anxiety that you don't own that thing on Steam. So even if it's just an erroneous Steam ban or account termination...
Yeah, but you see, the argument here becomes kind of... It's not complicated or convoluted, but the argument here becomes useless. The argument... What these arguments are essentially hinting on that is physical copies are better for the consumer. But that doesn't matter because most games are going to require you to have an internet access. Which means even if you have a physical copy of the game, in 10-15 years if the servers are shut down, you still can't play. You're just stuck with a disc. And, well, that's essentially it. Also, are we going to slowly move away from discs to USB sticks? That would be kind of funny if we did.
Or whatever, the idea that you could lose a lot of what you have bought and I suppose feel like you own, that's kind of spooky to people. Now, of course, this is just the normal trend for indies and even like AAAs, right? Or more independent games like, say, Baldur's Gate 3. You know, that was all digital until
Mr. Beast's video in 10 years, giving back Diablo 2 to everyone. He's gonna make his own servers.
They, after the fact, did a collector's edition. So we're just seeing that the larger companies now, they don't feel like they need to, as much anyway, cater to that physical market. Now, I still think the biggest games out there, the absolute biggest franchises, and especially the sports games, you know, the likes of your NFL, your EA Football Club, or whatever the hell they call it now, I think those still will have physical releases because they do go out to that, like, very broad audience. But if you just...
I never liked really this because, yeah, people who are only sports game fans are typically not actually like gamers per se. They just play football, they just play their Maddens, they just play their hockeys, they just play their basketballs, and you know, things like that. They're not, in a lot of senses, they're not gamers, but just saying, oh, the completely autistic sports game fans, though, they need hard copies, otherwise they don't understand the internet, is, I mean, that's really bad to say, because this is effectively exactly what he's saying. Oh, those stupid sports ball fans, they don't understand anything. If they don't get a hard copy, then they're not gonna play the game, because how would a completely moron mouth breather like a football fan ever connect to the internet? Oh boy, man, we got spicy up in here real fast, huh?
Look through the financials of these companies, I mean, it's so goddamn clear. So let's start this off by taking a look at Square Enix, where you can basically see that in every single region, downloaded is way bigger than packaged. But as you move from 23 into 24 here, of course, this is going by fiscal years, well, you saw 4.95 million packaged, 11.48 million downloaded. That then changed. The next year, 4.19 million packaged, 14.32 million download. So very clearly, the ratio of downloaded games is only getting larger and larger. Square Enix is one example. Looking at Electronic Arts, though, they're experiencing the same thing, and obviously this is just what is going on everywhere. And this is a trend that is just getting faster and faster. And then we've got this that was pulled together by our...
Oh, you skipped that real fast. Let's look at this. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's obviously it's going to be higher than that 1% I said. But, you know, this is literally 10% of the people care now, and it's even less now. So, you know, I overshot it, obviously, intentionally also, but at the end of the day, you see the point. It's completely... The numbers are just not even comparable at this point.
And then we've got this that was pulled together by Ars Technica using NPD.
And you know what I'm going to argue actually about? I'm going to argue about the point that this... I'm gonna argue about the fact that the physical is some kind of digital, not digital deluxe, but some kind of collector's edition thing, okay? That's the only thing that people typically actually buy any longer. It's like the physical copy of the game plus, you know, the book, the, you know, coloring, crayon things that, you know, all these people get, and the stupid Chinese toy that is complete garbage, but people can look at it and say, ah, I'm so special, I bought the digital deluxe edition. Wow. Yeah, I'm assuming this is those people. I'm assuming this is like 99.9% all of the physical copies sold. That is exactly that. Just the pre-orders, deluxe edition collector's items.
It is just getting faster and faster. And then we've got this that was pulled together by Ars Technica using NPD's data. Now this only goes up to 2021, but what you very obviously see is the number of physical games is going down. The number of digital games is going up. You know, 2020... 2021, obviously some interesting things are going on around that time, but as you see, it's not just that, oh, there were lockdowns and things and people weren't going outside to buy physical games. If that was the case, would you see from the likes of EA and, you know, and Square Enix, that you're actually getting that digital number just increase and increase, sort of even into the present day? So, no, I think physical truly is dying, and ultimately that's because I think of just convenience. we all, generally speaking, have better internet than we did 5 or 10 years ago. So just, you know, hit the download button, get your game, play the damn thing. You don't need to go into the car, go into a shop, and all of that stuff. And that's kind of what gets us to retailers then. There's been a number of interesting stories that have happened over the last little while about just physical retailers destroying game copies. So, here's one. I saw this memo earlier as well. Walmart will prep to remove Starfield Xbox physical copies from their store, but you could get very lucky and get it.
Starfield always doing miracles. The 3 cent thing, by the way, is some kind of misunderstanding. I don't remember, yeah. But this is how supermarkets work, by the way. You have supermarkets, and then these supermarkets have, sales, as we all know. So, how do these sales work in supermarkets? Well, they work pretty easily. It's not actually the supermarket covering the sale. It is the manufacturer covering the sale expenses and whatnot by giving them free supply and things like that. That's how sales work in giant supermarkets. The supermarket is not actually just, willy-nilly deciding, okay, now we're going to sell Coca-Cola for 40% less, and then they lose money. No. That is all in the agreement between the supermarket and the distributor, aka Coca-Cola, how often they go on sales, when they go on sales, and how much do they cover or how much inventory they do provide for these sales, or, any other kind of agreement that they actually do. Technically, it's actual real barter, which is really funny, but, that's how that works. So, this is probably the same kind of situation. A bunch of copies get shoved into Walmart. Walmart has some kind of, precautionary thing that if they don't sell enough, then they get a refund or something like that. So, it's just easier for them to just eat and delete them all because they didn't lose money anyway.
For 3 cents on Monday, brackets the memo says the system will block the purchase. But yes, this was essentially looking like Walmart were getting ready to sell Starfield for 3 cents or just destroy them all, which of course seemed pretty damn bizarre. And everybody immediately joked, oh, that's because Starfield isn't very good. It's now selling for 3 cents. That's similar to a lot of those very deep discounts we saw on Fallout 76, when clearly it was not shifting copies. But in reality, while I think no doubt there's a bit of that, it's probably just the physical games pipeline, right? Because what happens is store suppliers, they buy a large volume of games before release, and of course then they sell those games at the recommended retail price. If those games do not sell, there are cases where a publisher might take them back, but very often it just ends up being like, well, stock space. It's going to be on your shelves, it's going to be in your warehouse.
Oh yeah, and publishers do take actually stock back. Well, not publishers also, but yes, in this case, the people who sell you the item, they take it back. But again, you need to have actually an agreement in all of that. Otherwise, they're not just gonna randomly take it back because that's a loss for them. But yes, there are typically rules and situations. If X is not met or whatever, it can be returned to the distributor. Normal business stuff. It's not actually anything crazy.
Perhaps you got to do something with the damn thing. Here, I suppose Walmart clearly felt like this was going to be a pretty big sales event. Maybe they were looking at past Bethesda games, Fallout, that kind of thing. But, wasn't on PlayStation, was it? If there was a PlayStation copy of Starfield that could have been sold physically.
Bro, these things. Okay, wait, let me do it like this.
PlayStation, was it? If there was a PlayStation copy of Starfield that could have been sold physically, I've got to imagine they would have sold some more of them. But as it stands, you're sitting there with physical copies, right? Physical copies for Xbox. I mean, the Series S, their volume play is digital only. So, that obviously didn't really work. There was another joke going around for Immortals of Avium.
Oh, boy.
Bizarre game. So, it's actually been selling for £1. Yeah, £1 at Asda. If you're in the States, that's like what, $1.50 maybe? Probably a bit less than $1.50. It was previously £5, so you know, that's like a small sandwich. That's not a lot of money for a game that I believe cost 135 million copies. So yes, this is honestly beginning to feel a little bit like that story of all the.
I mean, Immortals of Avion was a complete disaster without question. It's a true discussion in how to do everything wrong.
Those ET cartridges buried in the desert, I think in New Mexico, if memory serves. But as you dive into this, what's clear is a feedback loop, because who the hell is selling physical games? Yes, some places like Asda or Walmart or whatever still may have them, but
the hell is an Asda?
well, here's one tweet. This is what my local Target's Xbox area looks like, and you can basically see some like accessories and then just like physical, you know, like game codes, right, that you can buy. The sort of thing that I suppose maybe a
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Parent puts into a birthday card for somebody, like that kind of thing. We've then been seeing reports, as here picked up by Video Games Chronicle, that some European retailers will just not be stocking physical Xbox games, and that does make a lot.
Yeah, again, like, why? Why? The only thing people are selling, again, I'm pretty much sure the only thing that people are, like, when was the last time you bought something physical? Now, I know it's actually stupid to ask a question like that in a video, because then all the people who, you know, if 1,000 people watch this, chances are 10 of them have at least done it, right? So, you know, those people are going to be in the comments, I did, and then it's going to look like it's actually a lot of people who did it, but the reality, it's no one did. So, leave your comment if you didn't buy a physical copy of a game in the last, you know, 5 to 10 years, or how many ever years haven't you bought a physical copy of a game. Let's see those comments. That will be a lot more interesting. And anyway, I don't even know how he can stretch this video to 22 minutes. That seems kind of wild, not gonna lie. Anyway, that's it. That was Bellier News. Interesting stuff, as one might say. And this is Quizzer saying thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.